Hi, I'm Jochen Schleser, founder of Saddlefit for Life. Today, we will be talking about the most commonly misunderstood symptoms of pain, which is often caused by improper saddle fit. These are signs the horse tries to tell you that there is something seriously wrong with your saddles. The list is so long, I printed out the list here to read it from you. I mean, the common one we know, but let's listen and let's look at these. Many items the horse tries to tell you. Pinning ears, tossing head, threatening to bite, common one, swishing tail, or the tail hanging crooked, moving away when you put the saddle on, or even doing brushing. You want to brush the horse tries to move away from your brush, from being touched. One of the things you refer sometimes as the mare face, the horse is like angry, they have that look in his eyes and pin the ears. So threatening to kick you, refusing to bend, picking up the wrong lead, switching lead. How annoying is that? Disunited, eunuch, bucking, rearing, refusing jumps, tripping, stumbling. I mean, this list goes on, and I don't want to bore you with this long list. The main key point is that often the equine professionals misunderstand these very clear signs the horse tries to communicate to you. It says, hey, I don't like this. Oh, you know what? I just don't like, my horse doesn't like go Mondays, or the horse doesn't like guys or girls. We make all these excuses up, and the horse clearly is not happy. We got to remember one thing. You cannot train pain. Okay, so we need to look at this and need to really understand these symptoms and how we're going to go forward. So let's talk about how we address this. As just mentioned, sometimes we just say, oh, it's just the horse. And often we like to say it's a training issue, or the horse doesn't like to go into the higher level. And we also have to understand we all like to get into this tunnel vision. As a farrier, I think it's always the shoes. As a physiotherapist, it's always my adjustment. Oh, the horse needs adjustment. As a saddle fit, it's the saddle fitting issue. I think if we understand the signs of the horse and we step away from the beliefs, oh, it's the shoes, it's the training, it's this, that, the other. If we follow what science has shown us, multiple universities now publish papers on the ethogram, how we recognize the pain in the horse's face. So if we understand that and we open and look for these signs, as I just mentioned, it's not always a training issue. Yes, there has been books written in the early 1900s. One of the riding masters, Udo Burger, wrote a book, The Rider Forms the Horse. But what good is it if the rider is really talented and forms the horse, if your saddle deforms the horse? So let's listen to your horse, look at these signs. I give you a couple of good examples when the saddle is too long and so on and so forth. Okay, so what are the signs? How do I know, this reaction comes because the saddle is too long? Well, a typical thing is you start warming up your horse, you start riding, and he's a little short. He doesn't want to go forward. You start trotting, and some horses just simply won't pick up the lead. They will not go from the trot into the canter. Because if the saddle is too long, let's say this is the back of the horse and my hand is the saddle, walk, trot, canter. Okay, my fingertips, the end of the fingers is the saddle. The horse needs to articulate through it. If the saddle is too long, how can he canter? This poking into the horse's back. So a typical sign, if the saddle is too long, he won't canter. Or what they do, they just block the saddle forward. Other horses, which have a very high pain tolerance, what they maybe say, okay, I'm going to somehow make it, they cross canter. They will not get off your leg. You're really trying to get the horse forward. They kind of feel stuck. Horses, especially when you are in the upper level riding, you will find it often. You ride the horse, you bring up, the top muscles grow, the horse doing great job, but all of a sudden, because the scapula comes back, shoulder gets wider, the saddle support gets smaller. Now your saddle is too long. What's a sign the horse gives you? You're losing your walk. Your walk is all of a sudden lateral. Who wants a lateral work? So the horse can only do as much as he's allowed to move and how free he is, and he has to stumble. There's another key. Stumble, tripping, refusing. The horse tries so many ways to say, it's not going to work. It's too long, and if you're going to force me into this, well, don't beat me if I trip. It's not my fault. Pinching the withers. Unfortunately, how do you recognize if your saddle pinches the withers? It's a common problem. Too many saddles do that. And for the longest time, I says, why are so many saddles pinch the horse's withers? Well, lots of misunderstanding of where the saddle should sit, lots of misinformation how the saddle should be adjusted. We can blame it to other industries, or we can also look at physics. A saddle tree has most of the time in the front of the tree a metal plate, and that metal plate looks like this. Okay, different shape, different forms, different colors, and when it goes down, because the rider sits on top, so this plate here sits in front of this saddle tree. So here's a different plate you can see. So obviously, if this is getting too tight where my hands are, it wants to stretch. So the metal gets weak and gets tight and gets wider. So now we know why it gets wider. Misteaching, misfitting, misunderstanding how to fit a saddle. The metal fatigues. What if the rider does a really good job and builds a nice muscle? The horse gets a nice top line. So instead of the withers like this, the withers gets wide like this. Yay, did a great job. But now the muscle gets too tight here and it pinches the withers. So what's the sign what the horse gives you? The sign is very simple. Push the base of the neck down. Then when they push the base down, lots of problems can start. You know, he won't canter. He won't go forward. He hangs in your reins. If you, God, why is he so heavy in my bit? He trips, and sometimes he's only lame under saddle. As soon as you take the saddle off, you trot the horse away. The horse is not lame. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Everybody wonder what's going on. They block the leg. Up and down they go. Horse is not lame. When the horse pushes the rib cage down, pinches the nerve, and often caused problem in saddle fitting, and the horse tries to communicate it so loud and clear. Wide in the eye, biting at the bit, angry, not going forward. And I just say, oh, let me fix it. I'm a good rider. Big spurs, big whip. Let me smack that horse. I will go forward. Remember, in nature, the stallion bites the other stallions when they fight in the wither. They bite the mare so she doesn't go forward while he breeds her. So that pinching of the withers is very painful. It's nature's handbrake. So if your horse doesn't go forward, your saddle has the handbrake on your horse and he won't go forward. A very clear sign when the horse is pinched on the withers. Rotating or twisting on the saddle is clearly you can feel because you feel offset. But what does a horse do? The horse will not bend as smooth to one side than the other side. You feel like it's leaning in your leg. It's, oh my God, that horse is stiff. Oh yeah, my horse is very stiff to one side like I am. We're making all these excuses up. What we are and how we feel, and that's how my horse feels. And yet your saddle is so crooked and so twisted, and that poor horse cannot pick up the right lead because your saddle is hanging so much to the right. Cross canters. You know, it doesn't bend. So these are very clear signs. And if it's really, really obvious, the horse tilts its head, or the whole horse goes kind of kinks a little bit. Chiropractor constantly adjusts C3, 3, 4 in the vertebrae. And what else? Somebody right behind you says, Oh, Susie, or Paul, whatever the right name is, look from behind. Look how the tail hangs to the left or the right. Duh, the spine is the elongation of the, the tail is the elongation of the spine. So the horse shows you that. What else we got? Bridging. Oh, yeah, my biggest pet peeve, this bridging. For thousands of years, saddles are made to distribute the weight from front to back so the pound square inch gets as big as possible. Why in the world would I want a saddle which just pokes in the front, pokes in the back, and the middle is hollow like a bridge? Makes no sense, doesn't it? But no matter what you believe, what would the horse do? The horse tries to avoid the pressure on the withers in the back. The horse is hollow. You need to ride for 20 minutes to make that area numb. The signs are heavy in the forehand, one canter. The horse is just not swinging in his back. Sometimes a very nasty trick Saddlefit is used. They make the saddle bridging, so the adult amateur rider who paid a lot of money for this very beautiful moving horse can now sit the trot. Isn't that what you paid the big money and the big dollar signs for? A horse that has a lot of cadence and movements? No, if the saddle bridges, horse moves flat, doesn't have cadence, moves out of the leg. We know it as leg movers, not back movers. And what do we want? We want back movers, horses that move through the back and not just diddle-diddle-diddle. Right? So that is something what is typical sign of the horse. It does not give you any cadence, any suspension. Okay, so another sign for if the tree is too wide, what would the horse show you if the tree is too wide in the angle? Pretty much the same as pinching the withers. Okay, so a lot of tripping, and says, how can the horse trip if the saddle is too wide in the angle? Well, why do we have a gullet plate in the first place? We have a gullet plate in the front of the saddle so the saddle doesn't crush and hit that high spine of the horse. It's there to protect the horse. So the saddle plate has to be parallel to the shoulder blade. So when the shoulder moves through, it doesn't clip the shoulder blade or destroys the withers. If the angle is wider than the angle of the shoulder, the saddle sits down, hits the withers, horse won't go forward, will buck, will give you all signs as I mentioned just previously in the wither pinching. Okay, so it's a really bad sign. The saddle is moving, rocking, slipping back, and the horse just doesn't like it, right? The whole behavior, the whole attitude change. So these are the typical signs a horse will tell you. If your saddle is too long, it pinches on the withers, the saddle is rotating or twisting, bridging, or if the angle is too wide. When we start to understand all these symptoms, and we start to understand, oh, this is actually a reaction to the horse's pain, we can do something about it. And we can ride the horses for us and for them without pain and without injury. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's topic, identify pain and why it's almost never a training issue. Don't forget, like and subscribe to never miss out. If you want to learn more, book a call with a Saddlefit for Life expert. Click the link in the description. I'm Johann Schleser, founder of Saddlefit for Life, the pinnacle of saddle fitting, what believes in science and follows the law of nature. Happy riding. See you next video.